nice to be fighting on the card where everyone knows how to pronounce your first name again?
Yeah, it's great, to be honest. I don't have to tell people my name is Carl. It's great.
And if you tell us a bit of your preparation for this fight, what have you been going into the Tom Breese contest? What have you been concentrating on?
I've just been concentrating on developing my game. And I was doing an interview before this, and they were just asking me about preparations, how it differs from fight camp to fight camp in terms of opponent, and it really doesn't. And I think that that stands to us, especially in a game like this where dropouts happen, etc. You look at Poirier there, who his opponent pulled out, and then there was other guys willing to step in, and he wouldn't do it because he was training for one particular guy for 10 weeks. We don't train like that. We never have. We train to get the best out of ourselves after 10 weeks. So I think that's the difference between us and other teams, and it suits the game. And I don't know when people are going to realise that.
Looking back at your last fight, we spoke to John Kavanagh yesterday, and he was talking about how much you'd campaigned for that John Howard fight and your desire to get 5 wins in a calendar year. Looking back, how do you feel about your performance and about taking that fight?
Yeah, I think I had that in my head, that whole get that 5 wins within a year thing, a little bit too much, and I probably should have taken the foot off the gas and come home and just recuperated after I had a long training camp over in Mexico. I trained at altitude for 6 weeks in Mexico, and I was training here before that, so I probably bit off more than I could chew, and every day is a school day. I'm learning every day, and I learned from that mistake, and probably shouldn't have done it. The performance wasn't great. It was the worst performance I've ever had. I also had a pretty bad injury, which I picked up before the Mexico fight, and I didn't even know about. I knew I had an injury, but I didn't know the extent of it until I came home, and then I was able to deal with it. So I think all things considered, a learning curve is what I would call it.
And so, taking those lessons that you've learned, how do you plan on implementing them into your fight with Tom Breese?
Well, it's more of a long-term thing, I think, and the lessons I learned in that sense. So, you've got to recuperate after fights. I fought 5 times in less than a year. I'll never do that again. I think it's best, max 3-4 times a year. I think the body needs to take a break after a long training camp. So they're the lessons I will implement into my training. In terms of the Tom Breese thing, lessons I learned in the last one, I just want to be more aggressive, more come forward. The style that kind of got me to the UFC, that's what I want to implement in the octagon. So that's what I'm reverting back to.
At this point now, it's that 15 months in. You've had, as we just said, a very busy 15 months. Assessing that now, where do you gauge your progression? How do you feel reflecting on those fights?
This is my 6th UFC fight, and I've got them in quickly. I would like to be further up the chain of welterweight fighters at this stage, but in terms of how many fights I've had, in terms of how long I've been, 15 months, I'm happy enough where I'm at, but I want to take bigger leaps up the chain. I want to get my name out there, and in terms of it being one of the top welterweight guys, and the only way I got to do that is by completely dominating, destroying opponents, and that's what I plan on doing with Tom Breese on Saturday.
Thomas said, he was just here before you, he said he thinks your greatest strength is the fact that you have a almost delusional belief that makes you pretty hard to stop, but he would, he obviously respect your mental strength, but feels technically he would have the edge on you. Is that something that you just feel is unfounded?
Yeah, I don't know where maybe he has a delusional belief or delusional thoughts about what my game is. I know the extent of my skills. I train every day with some of the best guys in the world. Jiu-jitsu wise, I'm training with jiu-jitsu black belts all the time, and matching them, and striking wise the same, and MMA wise, I'm training with Connor, Gunny, all these guys, and I'm up there on skill level wise with them, so I'm happy if he believes that. I think he's somewhat delusional. He wanted this fight. I think my last few performances have been poor by my standard, and I think he thinks that is my standard. So I'm happy he thinks that, and he's in for a rude awakening on Saturday night. As soon as that bell goes, he's gonna, that confidence that he has in himself will shrink, and he's in for a bad night.
We've spoken before a lot about your size and strength at welterweight. He's a pretty big guy like yourself. Does that do you think that will turn it on its head? I suppose that might just be nullified now. You guys will have to maybe out technique each other as opposed to imposing your will physically.
Oh, I still think I can bully him physically. I mean, he's big in the sense that he's long, but he's very, very skinny. If you look at his legs, my little sister has bigger legs than him, and they're absolutely tiny. It's like a stick insect he reminds me of almost. So I don't think, I think if I wanted to make it that sort of fight, which I do want to, I want to bully him a bit, because I want to shrink his confidence a little bit. So I will do that, and I believe I can do that.
Cathal, what sort of charge do you get from returning to a venue where last year you had one of the most successful nights of your career?
I've just been looking forward to it ever since July 19th last year. I've been, visualising this and picturing returning here. It's the highlight of my career so far. I think it will always be the highlight of my career is fighting here. So I'm just looking forward to doing it again, making another memory that I'll have for the rest of my life.
So what should Irish fans of the Three Arena expect of a hometown fighter on Saturday night?
Of every hometown fighter? Of me. Well, look, I'm fighting in Ireland, in Dublin, my hometown, in front of my own people. I always fight with pride, but I fight with extra pride at home in Dublin, and I always feel like I'm unstoppable. But I feel like I'm even more. I feel like Superman when I'm in front of these people. So that's what they can expect on Saturday.
That's great. Everyone loves Superman. Thank you.
Thank you.